Enter piece again. Hey everybody, welcome to Caribbean and the show about all things Caribbean. Thank you so much for joining me. Today's really special because we're doing a live show. So this is the very first episode that we're doing live. And we are streaming. So I'm Zephyr Roy, for anyone who doesn't know me. And I'm coming to you from the wonderful green bush of Saint-Esprit in Martinique. So if anything happens, okay, to our stream, you know that we're streaming from the bush, okay? And thank you so much for being patient and waiting for us. We're coming to you on Caribbean time in COVID. Okay, so when I said 2 o'clock, I meant just about now. Today we're going to be talking about migration, something that's in the Caribbean affects thousands and thousands of people and has affected me personally, and the parents who leave and the children who are left behind, and just how much like this impacts like people's lives. The thing that I've noticed is there are like two sides to this. On one hand, we have people who leave because they want to make like a better life for themselves, and you know, and they often say to the children, "I'm going to send for you, so I will send for you," and the children who are left behind are in expectation. And sometimes the parents do, like, they send for the children, and the children they go to live with their parents, and then you have the children who stay behind with family and who live separately from their parents, like basically for all of their childhood. So what I noticed happening is, on the one hand, the people who stay at home are, usually grateful that people who've left, they send money back, they send things back, and they help their children and the rest of their family to have a better standard of living. And on the other hand, there is a situation where there's usually, there's more often some form of resentment. The resentment can come either from the children who feel abandoned to some extent, who feel that they've been left behind and they didn't have the opportunity to grow up with their parents. The resentment can also come from just like the community, especially when people who've traveled, these parents, or just people who've lived elsewhere, they come back home and they compare the place that they grew up to the place where they now live. And more often than not, the place that they grew up in is always falling short, So people come back to Dominica, for example, and they're like, "Oh, things so slow here. When you have to do something, you gotta get somebody to do something. That people are always taking so much time." People are always complaining about these things, and of course, for the people who are there, they're like, so you go, you think you're big shot now, and you come back, and you expect everything to be like your big shot country. So that's just like one aspect of, like, one side of the coin, one aspect of the situation. But more on the point of parents leaving and children who are left behind. Personally, in my experience, and if you're in here listening to the live, you can like jump in on the chat at any moment, okay, to like give your input, ask questions, and just contribute. When I was maybe around 2 years older, a bit younger, my mother left Dominica, and so I grew up with my grandmother. And when I was a teenager, I think I was about 14 years, my father left. So my mother went to a French-speaking country, my father went to the US. So I got basically to adulthood living with my family. And I very recently saw a short film, a short documentary called it's called Scars of Our mother's dreams. And this documentary was made by a filmmaker called Mishaila Philip, who is from Grenada. And it's a short film on mothers, or it gives the perspective rather of children who are now adults, but who were left behind when they were children by their mothers who had migrated from Grenada to the US or the UK. And the lives that these children had back in Grenada without their parents. And the experiences are quite heartbreaking. I know that for all children, it's not the same experience. But these children, for example, one of the persons in the documentary, it was a man who was saying that his mom, he did not even know that his mother was leaving. He found out because they drove to like this little airport, and it was when his mother was leaving. She just said, be a good boy, and basically she left. And he kept expecting his mother to come back. Now, even if your basic needs were met in terms of food and shelter, it's heartbreaking for a child and quite traumatic to just have your parent leave, and especially your mother in the early formative years of your life, and then you just don't see the person coming back, and you don't understand why they're not coming back. In another experience was one of a girl who her mother had left to go make a better life somewhere, and she had left the family, and there were so many kids in the family where she was left, and she ended up being molested, and it was quite a tragic story. I think very unfortunately that a lot of the experiences that children have, too many children have experiences that are similar, where they're abused or they suffer some form of abuse, whether it's physical, sexual, verbal abuse, because they do not have the protection of their family. I know that this is a very sensitive topic because the parents who leave, it is hard to place blame on the parents, and persons who might be in the situation where they have left. They might feel like, I was only trying to do what's best. So why are you sort of pointing fingers at me to say you left, and like your children are probably living that very difficult situation, especially when the people who leave very often, as I said, they send back money, they try and make life better for the persons that they've left behind. But we also have the situation where it's the parents who leave sometimes, which is only natural. I think they create this new life for themselves. So some people get married, some people they have relationships, sometimes they have other children. And I think this is something that's very, very difficult for those who are left behind to come to terms with, because then I do think that it creates a feeling of being abandoned when you know that your parent lives elsewhere. They've created a new life for themselves in better living conditions, and with other children who have the privilege of being with the parents. I think often it's mothers, and you do not have this privilege. I think it's a very difficult situation to come to terms with. I'm just going to take like a little short pause because I want to see if anybody is, if you have any questions or any contributions here. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to you. Okay. So I'm going to continue. So I think another reason why it's a bit of a touchy subject is we've had just this migration flow of people moving out of our islands. There's the socio-political aspect to it, socio-historical aspect to it, social and historical aspect to it. the fact that these our islands are um, ancient old colonies of Britain or France, or market is still from France. So kind of, even if we have similar um, migration phenomena, it's not the same situation. And so what happens after not in these neo-colonial societies or these independent um, countries, we had people move into the old motherlands to in response to offers and opportunities for work, and always with the character, dangled and being dangled, and that's you would by coming here, you're going to earn more money, you're going to earn foreign currency, and you're going to give a better life to your children and to your family. And sometimes I honestly do ask myself like the question: Did it was it really for okay? Did they really make the lives of their family and the country better? Okay, what I mean by that is yes, immediately um, we had maybe money or things that we sent back, and that definitely changed a lot of people's lives. It allowed some people to have further education. A lot of people to have better standard of living. But as a country on a whole, as countries and islands independent states, how did that impact us also? I'm going kind of far here, moving from personal trauma that people experience to how the trauma also experience and influence how they dealt with the children, how they shaped their own family lives, how um, they were able to shape and build themselves personally, professionally as adults, onto how they build the country that they live in. I do think that the question I ask myself is, if people had stayed, would we have had instead the brain power and the manpower also to build our country? Okay, so I had a little problem with my audio. Just cut off. I think it's back on. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna take a little break, and I'm gonna come back in a couple of minutes. So stay with me, okay? Enter please again. Okay, and we're back. So thank you guys for sticking with me. Can you just let me know if the audio is working? Because I think we had just a little problem with the audio. So tell me if you can hear me clearly, if I'm coming in, or if there's still a problem with it. On Facebook, for those of you on Facebook, let me know. Just send a comment to let me know if there's still a problem or if you can hear me clearly. Okay. So I'm doing just a couple of things to fix it. So I think it's good. Okay. Okay, great. I think we're back on. Yay. So right before we took the break, I was talking about if people had stayed, because we have just thousands and thousands of people who left the Caribbean, leaving kids behind, would we have had the resources to be able to build so much better? We would have had the brain power. Now, of course, this is in retrospective, so woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's something that's pretty pointless. But I do think that it's worth questioning, because it does and has impacted who we are today. I know that it's definitely impacted me. I know that growing up, we always had our eyes turned towards the outside. You were not expected to remain in your country, you were expected to go away to study. And if you really wanted to have like this not amazing life, but if you wanted to have, to pull yourself up in society, basically, you were expected to live elsewhere, to work elsewhere, to earn money elsewhere. And then I think to some extent you were expected to come back, but at what point you would come back was not defined, because there was a great measure of pride that people had in saying that, their daughter or their son or this member of their family lived in this other country, this faraway country. And, they had a good job, but they had a good situation. So I don't think that people expected you when as soon as you left to go back. So this, I think, is something that's a bit tricky, because I know that when I was growing up, I expected to leave. I expected to leave because I knew that I would go to study somewhere else, and I definitely wanted to live elsewhere, not because I didn't like my country, and I did not expect to live elsewhere for this long, for sure. A lot of people who migrate, but I thought, I would go somewhere else, probably make a living for a short while, study, and go back home. So I'm talking from the point of view of somebody who has migrated. I'm also talking from the point of view of someone whose parents migrated. And I remember growing up with my two parents, and there is definitely a void that this leaves in your life. The void of that, I think, nothing can fill, in the sense that you can have parenting figures, but you do need to have at least some knowledge of, where you came from, So I think that this is really important, and you'll, of course, let me know what you think. I know that there are probably persons who are listening in and who've had they, they've been, their parents have migrated, or maybe you migrated, maybe your parent who's migrated and who left the kids, because this is another, I think, another perspective that we rarely get, the perspective of the parents also, who they leave because they feel like this is what I have to do, and they approach the question afterwards in a very matter-of-fact way. It's very practical, it's very practical. It's very it's a question of survival and just being able to live decently. So whenever this question is broached, it's just, I did what I had to do, then that's it. We don't go into like the back office or the eternal back office of what this really does to the individual, the person, the parent who leaves their children, who probably leaves the other family members, who leaves all the landmarks that up until then they've been attached to and that have created the the landscape, the social, family, professional landscape as individuals. They leave all of that. So, and they start in somewhere else, different culture, in a different place. So I know that a lot of parents feel some form of guilt from leaving their parents, their kids, and they feel torn also that they have to do it, and not knowing, day to day how the kids are growing and doing. And so I think we have those different perspectives. So definitely, it's not something. Okay, somebody has a problem with the sound. That's from YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's still okay on Facebook or if there's still a problem with the sound. But before we close, let's just if there are any comments, if you wanna pitch in. Yes. So Danitza says that it probably leaves a void, and so you are in your country, but as a child, your parents. I see the problem came back. Okay, I got it. Your parents keep you anchored, so when they leave, it creates a feeling of not belonging. Definitely, I definitely can relate to that, because I do remember when my father left, because I did not know my mother, because I did not grow up with her. She left when I was a baby. But my father, I had a good relationship with my father. Left. I do remember definitely this feeling of emptiness and this feeling of sort of being without anchor, without, yes, thank you, Danny, without roots, sort of being a bit lost, and not understanding why. Because even if as a child your parents say they're going to get a better life, they're going to do this, etc., you don't grasp exactly what this is. Yes, they tell you that it's to put clothes on your back and food on the table, but these things are, even if they're concrete for and tangible for an adult, for a child, they still sort of intangible, because where does food and clothes on your back come from? What is important to them is the emotional attachment that they have to the parents, and the stability, the safe feeling that they have when they're with their parents. So definitely when the parent moves away, there is a feeling of incomprehension, of not being sure as to why they really had to go, Okay. Danny, tell me if the problem is still, the audio problem is still there, because I think we seem to be going in and out with the sound. But thank you so much for sticking with me. Thank you for your patience. I wish we could we could talk about this a little bit longer, because I know that there's so many things that can be said on this topic, and that you could share like your experiences with me. But we're gonna wrap up for today, and yes, okay. So we're gonna wrap up. We'll be wrapping up today, and we'll be when there's another episode coming out, you'll be notified so you can join me again for the next live. Okay, and hopefully it's not gonna be raining in the bush, so we can continue the conversation online. Okay, and I'll meet up with you for another episode of Caribbean And. Thank you so much. Okay. Another episode of Caribbean And. This one was really a hot topic. Parents leaving children and the impact that it has on them. There's so much that we can say, and I know that there's so many people who've been like affected by end up this again.